Former President Jacob Zuma was escorted about 200 kilometres from his prison cell in Estcourt Correctional Centre to Nkandla this morning to attend the funeral of his brother Michael, who died last week. A heavy police and army presence was reported around Nkandla ahead of the funeral. For an update on how this went, I'm joined by Department of Correctional Services spokesperson Singabakho Nxumalo. Mr. Nxumalo, thanks indeed for your time. First of all, just some confirmation. I mean, we've heard from the Minister in the Presidency earlier about Mr. Zuma being back in prison. Is he indeed behind bars this evening?
A very good evening, and thank you for having us. That was indeed a correct report. Mr. Jacob Zuma is back in custody, safe. He did attend to the family bereavement of the funeral, and we, as promised, that we'll need to escort him, ensure that he's safe at all times. That we achieved, and drove back with him. He is now in his cell.
And now we understand that there are strict times around this type of compassionate leave when it's allowed to happen. Did Mr. Zuma spend an extra amount of time with his family after the funeral?
The compassionate leave will specify the date, the time of departure, and the time at which an inmate is expected to come back. But then what gives us comfort is that there are correctional officials who accompany the inmate, who are with the inmate at all times. If there are any delays for whatever reason, at least they are there to liaise with the center to say this is what is happening, but everything is in order. So that we're able to account for that inmate, and we're able to ensure that everyone is safe. So, and then the mission is not accomplished up until such time that the inmate is back, safe and in custody, and that has been achieved.
All right. So there's also been a question around, you know, the super spreader risks around funerals, and I mean, we've seen government talk about it. But, you know, the question is why Mr. Zuma, who drove or would ordinarily drive such a large crowd, was given the go-ahead to attend the funeral. Did the department not consider the fact that he's high profile, he could draw in a large crowd? Was that not considered as a risk?
You will know that the country is under level 4 in terms of COVID-19 restrictions, which prohibit gatherings, let's say for funerals not to be above 50. So that was part and parcel of the arrangement for the family, and we expected the family, you know, to abide by those regulations. And it was again our responsibility to ensure that the inmate is not exposed, meaning that should we deem that the environment is no longer conducive for an inmate to be there, we have all the rights to then remove the inmate from that particular activity into a place of safety or take the inmate back into custody. So for the fact that Mr. Zuma attended the funeral, was there up until the end, and taken back into custody, it will therefore indicate that precautionary measures, you know, were being applied to, and we are confident that the officials who were deployed to monitor him, to protect him, did achieve that. Hence, then it's important that even if, you know, precautionary measures are adhered to by everyone who's part of whatever activity that is there, we still have to isolate an inmate when back into custody in order to ensure that we minimize the risk of other inmates or officials being exposed to that person in case that particular inmate may have contracted the virus.
There appear to have been a heavy police presence around Mr. Zuma. Did his attendance not put pressure on resources?
I'm sure if you look closely, there was police presence, but more so on the perimeter. But inside, inside the family premises, one will say it was a reasonable amount of people, including officials responsible for safety and security. At no point the state must take chances and not protect ordinary citizens, or if they pick up that there is likely to be a risk, as a security arm of the state, we need to be ready to respond to that and ensure that we do protect people. It is a matter of critical importance, hence when all state agencies deploy officials, they need to make it a point that there is a reason, to do that, and that the officials deployed are the ones who will be fit for whatever activity is there. And should there be a need that you need additional forces, you are in a position to mobilize additional resources. And we do this in a responsible manner.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks very much, Department of Correctional Services spokesperson Singabakho Nxumalo.